We are looking right now on tubefilter.com. I try to include most of the sources for anything we talk about in the podcast as long as I remember to. So hopefully, I do. And if it's the news story, we definitely will. But we wanted to look at what COPPA is. This is something that concerns both of us, I think, with the channel and with any channel on YouTube. And there's a few reasons for that. I think you can vocalize it. We'll both vocalize it. I think you will have a different take on it than me because it's something that upsets me a little more than it does you.
Yeah.
Because for me, this is right now my, as ridiculous as it might sound, main income. It's like I work 2 other jobs. One I'm in the process of changing. The other one, it's sort of the off season, so I work very little. So this is something that could affect me, I would say, more than you, but it affects both of us.
For sure.
And it will affect your favorite creators on YouTube. So COPPA is a complicated beast. Let's just run through the basics of it real quick. So it's a 1998 U.S. copyright law, and it's a very good faith law that I think had very good intentions. Essentially, it restricted websites and online services from collecting personal information of users that are under 13 without parental permission. So essentially, you can't be collecting personal data from children. That's very good, right?
Makes sense. Yeah.
I think we can both agree that's very good. I think a problem with American business now, I would say, is that sort of technology companies have been able to get away a little bit with marketing microtransactions and little buy-ins to children, whether that's with video games, right? You see it in a lot of video games that are obviously directed at kids and then trying to get people to buy little things in them, all the way down to a lot of the EULAs you sign, the EULAs that collect your personal data for browsing on their site. And if it's a kid signing it and just saying they're over 18, that's the problem here.
Definitely. It's a kid basically consenting without knowledge to, hey, look at my browsing history and look at my private personal information.
Yes.
That's kind of what's happening there.
And the problem is that is an invasion of children's privacy.
For sure.
It's already borderline an invasion of your privacy as an adult, but it's something that's overlooked because it's kind of better for everybody. In the sense of you'll either get a shotgun blast of ads that have nothing to do with what you like, or you'll get ones personalized that might maybe be interesting and also help the companies by getting you to buy something related to you. So that's kind of where this comes in as a morally gray area, even with adults.
Sure, it's still a huge can of worms because you can look at it at a much deeper level, and it's a completely different discussion. But it's gotten to a point now where you talk about something and an ad pops up on your phone. What you were talking about.
But does it really?
Yeah.
Does it really though? Yeah, I know. So, yeah, and that's weird, and that is an invasion of privacy. Depending on what the device is, and you talk about something in front of your phone, and all of a sudden there's ads for that thing you've never searched online a day in your life.
Right. So
that's weird.
That's a completely different discussion.
And a conspiracy.
It is.
But
it's a hack.
But essentially, what we're trying to say is that this is a good faith idea. The problem is that the way that the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, has sort of expanded on this and broadened it, it expanded it to include the definition of operators to include creators themselves who publish on ad-assisted platforms. So obviously that's places like YouTube, even Twitch, anywhere where there's ads, that affects you. So essentially it affects us, right? Creators themselves can be fined for violating COPPA. Now, if that was me going in the comments hey, kiddo, I see you're under 13. What's your address and what do you like to buy? It's totally makes sense. You're a creep, a weirdo, and why are you talking to my kid and getting this personal information?
And why do you sound like Bill Clinton?
Hey there, hey! Yeah, no, that would make sense, right? But the issue is that essentially this is taken a big dump on content creators for something that is out of their hands in a lot of ways. Content creators don't pick the ads you see, really. There are ways to narrow them down. Sponsorships are one way, obviously. Content creators pick those. There are other ways to narrow them down, by picking, hey, I make gaming videos. I'd like to see gaming ads. You can click boxes for some of the stuff like that, actually, in AdSense. It's complicated, but you can sway it. But it's the platform that actually delivers those personalized ads. So essentially, this all happens through Google and YouTube, right? So I don't think even they should be fined. But if anyone was going to be, it would make most sense for it to be the platform. Instead, this burden is sort of falling on content creators. So essentially the idea here, and I think you can maybe expand on it a little more before I dive too deep, but it's that if your content is directed at children or kids, that you can face severe fines from the FTC for that, but they get sole discretion to determine what's directed at kids.
Yeah, I think according to this article, it said $42,000 is what you would be fined per video at this point. And so what confused me, and I think what is so confusing about this, is the discretion falls onto the committee, I guess, in this case, for lack of a better word. So what confuses me about this is that the discretion falls on them, and that's completely subjective. So you could have, one person view something as kid-friendly, and another person doesn't. And some parents might find some videos kid-friendly, others might not.
Well, and the difference between kid-friendly and kid-directed. I would say that some of what you and I cover on this channel is kid-friendly. Like, a child could watch it and not be irreparably damaged, but I don't really want kids watching our videos. I don't direct them at kids. I direct them at people over 13.
For sure.
They are directed at teenagers and adults, like young adults and middle-aged adults. That's who I want listening to be. I don't want to be shaping your children's views on anything.
No, that's not the objective of the channel at all. And what this website says, what kid-directed means, is they're looking at subject matter, visual content, animated characters or activities, stuff like that, music, age of the models, presence of child celebrities or celebrities who appeal to children in the video, language, and advertising, promoting, or appearing on the website or online service is directed at the children. So,
and that's the problem, though, is like they are the ones who determine that. So look at our channel. I would argue just straight up front, I'm not directing this at children at all. Like, by my word, which is all I have to go off of, right? Now, here's the problem. I don't swear in a lot of videos. There are some where I do. Usually it's when I get heated about something, or when I think it adds to what I'm saying. I have nothing against swearing. I don't care at all. I have an English degree. I think words are words, right? But a lot of times I don't do it because I don't think it adds to what we're talking about, or I think it's just out of place and forced for me to do it. So does that mean that our videos are kid-directed because there's no language in them?
It's a good point. It's completely subjective at that point.
Does that mean I should start dropping the F-bomb just so that I'm not directing our content at kids?
Well, and that's the problem too, is when you look at this, what one thing that it goes into later on in the article, I don't know if you were getting to this, but I guess I'm kind of jumping ahead.
No, I need you to, because I feel like I get off track a little bit with something like this.
No, that's
I get
okay.
emotional about it.
Was how it affects creators too, because when you change the ad from it being, I think it's if it is kid friendly, and it brings the revenue down 60 to 90%. If you were to do that. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, so essentially it's if you went to Creator Studio and you disable personalized ads completely under the advanced tab, it would drop your revenue 60 to 90% down. So if there were no personalized ads at all, you'd be making $10 for every 100 that you should be making.
Which, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit behind, I guess. So would you do that? Would you take off personalized ads?
Would I?
No, like, I guess hypothetically. Would you take them off if they were not child-friendly? So,
no.
So you would leave personalized ads on then?
Yes. But here's the thing, though. It's like, so if you were to... Here's how it's going to kind of work. If you are a YouTube creator, and it's going to sound to you like, oh, case closed, right? That's it. Figured it out. We're done. Essentially, what YouTube creators can do is there's going to be a box that they can click, and that's kind of... The weird part of this is that there's going to be a box you can click when you upload to say this is or is not kid directed. So I'm never clicking that it is, because I don't want kids watching it anyway. If I cover toys, I'm covering them as collectibles for adults, either to buy for your kid as an adult or to buy for yourself. I am a mid-20s man who buys toys for myself. Fine. You know what I mean? That is who I'm directing that at. But the FTC can come in and say, Sorry there, buddy boy, you talked about a toy. Toys are for kids. So here's your $46,000 fine. Meanwhile, I don't make $46,000 a year.
Right.
How am I going to pay that?
And that's per video. And we've got multiple of those up, I guess. So that would be, potentially you're looking at millions of dollars. So this is just, it doesn't seem, for me, this seems like a bit of a mess. And it doesn't really make sense. And it's just basically throwing a bunch of stuff, maybe with good intentions, with some weird stuff going on with like the YouTube Kids section and stuff like that. Nonetheless, though, it doesn't seem thought out because it's going after creators when creators are just creating content and then saying, hey, I want to monetize this. And then it's kind of, like you said earlier, I feel like it falls back on the promoters and Google and YouTube to kind of figure that out. But they're throwing that burden now on the creators. And then if you don't follow that, you get fined an outrageous amount of $42,000 per video.
Or 46, I think.
I think it was 42. I could be up. But yeah,
either way, it'll ruin you. Like, literally getting one fine like that would ruin me for like a year or two.
Yeah.
Financially.
That's the thing. And there are multiple videos on there. So they could hypothetically, they go through your channel, they find that after this officially goes into action. Hypothetically, they could fine you, hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's crazy to me. You can just throw that on there. And I don't see how this is going to stick like that, to be honest with you. I don't see this being something, especially once word gets out and there's a lot of pushback on this. I see this being something that gets postponed or at least honed in on.
It really should be dropped. I would argue this is an anti-American law.
Sure.
And the reason I would argue that is because you might have your own political beliefs, that's fine. But one of the key tenets of American business has been capitalism. Running unchecked and rampant, that is a problem. But essentially the heart of the American economy is supposed to be something that you and I talked about earlier. It's that you are good at something or you can provide a service. Whether you think of YouTube videos or creations as that is what they are. It's regardless of your opinion on it or my opinion on it. It is providing a service to people. People are entertained. Entertainment's a service. Sports are an entertainment service. That's why sports players are paid millions of dollars. That's what it is. So you are providing a service and being monetarily compensated for that. For the FTC to step in and say, no, you can provide that service all you want, screw yourself, you can't capitalize on that, is against capitalist society
and ideals.
It doesn't make any sense. It's anti-consumer too, because it tells the consumer you're a moron. You can't look after your kids. You can't control your children and what they will do. So because you are having your children watch on the normal YouTube app instead of YouTube Kids, we're going to punish all YouTube creators because you're a bad parent.
Yeah.
Your kids shouldn't be on the YouTube app anyway. It's not designed for kids. It's designed for 13 and up.
Well, and even the YouTube Kids platform, like that itself has flaws too. I've seen some weird stuff on there.
Yeah, but it is designed for kids and it is closely monitored, and those flaws are usually fixed.
Definitely.
Whereas this is not directed at kids. There's nothing on YouTube technically should be directed at children anyway. Is what I'm trying to say. Is like on the main YouTube app. Because that's where the sticky part comes in, is they're the same site online, right?
Yes.
But on mobile, they're split YouTube and YouTube Kids. That's what's weird about this. So it is a very sticky situation, but I really think this is sort of an anti-creator law, an anti-American law, and it will affect the creators that you watch. This is not just like Article 13, where like it might hurt viewers and creators in Europe. This would hurt you. This, in conjunction with that, is like devastating first world nations in terms of online video content. It's like not only do you have Article 13's bullshit going on over in Europe, you now have this just obliterating creativity in America and allowing the FTC to step in and have their own idea of what is and is not directed at kids. It doesn't make any sense. I'm sure that they meant this to be a good thing. That's my thing, is that I'm sure the FTC, when they were implementing this, it was like, okay, well, this is to protect kids. And I think that's a great thing. I think the problem with just how vague this is that this is going to end up hurting everyone and hurting people who can't pay for it. And it also sort of operates under the idea that YouTubers are millionaires who can afford to pay off a fine like this if they're charged, and not people like me who are making less than the amount of that fine in a year. Like, how are we supposed to deal with something like this? And then it also comes back to, like, I don't know, what if the FTC wants to hurt you? You know what I mean? Like, laws are supposed to be written in a way where they protect American citizens. This almost seems like something that could be weaponized against an American citizen, because if the FTC just wants to say that it's directed at kids on your behalf, they can.
Oh, I 100%. It's a legitimate, wide-ranging problem in so many ways. And even looking at how it would affect specifically creators that are creating content for kids, because then you cannot run personalized ads on those videos.
Yeah.
So then you're not able to make... You're literally losing between, this article says, 60 to 90% of your income off of ad revenue because you have to do that. Because personalized ads will pretty much not be allowed on kid-friendly content. So that's a problem in that you're changing the lives of creators who potentially are making a livelihood off of this.
And what's wrong with them making a livelihood? Are those personalized ads? It is a sticky situation. At
because
the same
they
time,
don't want content, or they don't want the browsing history and personal information of kids being exposed. So, and that's what personalized ads do.
Right.
So then they're like, oh yeah, well, we need to get rid of personalized ads for kids. Well, that's a huge chunk. There's a huge difference between personalized ads and regular ads, according to this article.
But the problem is there's also no way to discern whether it's a kid on the other side of the screen or an adult. A kid can lie.
For sure.
So if a kid lies and says, I'm 18, by the way, I know pretty much everybody did this back in the day when they made YouTube accounts. All my friends did, and said, I'm 18 when they made the account.
Yeah.
So would the creator then be in violation of this law because there's a kid using an 18-year-old account that is then being compromised through personalized ads?
There's just a lot of holes with this.
Oh, this law is Swiss cheese.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the problem. And I am afraid to speak out against governmental laws. I'm just going to be honest with you, because I was always kind of taught that, like, if the government does want to come down on you in any country, they kind of can. So, like, it's scary to even say anything about a law that you disagree with. It shouldn't be, but it kind of is.
No, and with something like this where it makes sense for you especially, because this is, and I mean, I'm obviously very engaged with it as well, but for it to be something where you want it to be your career, and it is a lot of people's careers, and especially, more specifically in this case, for people that are focusing on child-friendly and, like, I guess, more relaxed and...
like Ryan's Toy Reviews could be an example of that.
Exactly.
Where
That's kind of what I was going with.
I know they have a lot of money already in the bank, but, like, so does that, just because they have that, they shouldn't be allowed to make more?
And they get the revenue cut in half or more?
By 90%?
Yeah, potentially up to 90%. Like, that's a huge, huge difference in people's lives. Simply because, and I get the idea of not wanting kids' personal information being exposed. That's a great concept. Nonetheless, I don't feel like content creators should be punished because of ads that are playing on their channel when they're just creating the content and then running the ads.
And the platform is what's dealing with.
Exactly.
Well, and that's sort of my issue too, though, with, I don't want to repeat myself 100 times, but that is my issue with them being able to have the sole discretion of what is and isn't directed at kids. What I think is that the way this is written needs work, because if anything, it should be like, if there's going to be a middle ground here, this is a crap middle ground. But at the very least, if you tick that box and say it's not directed at kids, you should not be able to be fined at all, because that shouldn't even show up for children. It should be so that, like, under 13 can't access that video then. It's like age gating. Does that suck? Yeah, but it's better than possibly the creator facing massive fines. And really, even that shouldn't be the case. Because at the end of the day, knowing if your kid went to pbs.com 10 minutes ago is not the same as knowing your kid's full name, address, where they go to school, and the color of their hair and eyes, and when their doctor appointment is. And you know what I mean?
Right.
Personal data and personal information are a little different. There's different levels of them. And I think that this is sort of like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's like, we have a problem here. Burn the whole thing to the ground.
Yeah,
it's like, that's not the way to solve a problem. This is why government operates slow, is so they don't do things like this.
Yeah.
And don't devastate industries. And the government, I don't know if they do or not, but, like, any person or government might not respect the YouTube or entertainment industry in this way. it's still an industry. It still deserves protection for the people providing the service just as much as the consumers. And for it not to be offering that is really sad, ridiculous in my opinion, and something that I think we all should speak out about. And so that's all I have to say about this. I think it is for you too.
For sure, yeah.
But I do want to encourage you to... I don't like petitions. I'm going to say that right now. I think a lot of times they don't do anything. I think in the terms of government, though, versus private entities, petitions show the government what the people want. There is a change.org petition. I personally am urging you to sign it. It will take 10 seconds of your day. Honestly, I think that is worth it to protect both the people that you care about producing content along with the content you consume. I also think that you should take a couple minutes to make a comment on the proposed rule that they're trying to actually implement at the beginning of the year, because that will sort of show the FTC as well that people don't like this and don't want to stand for it. And then I would also urge YouTube content creators to sort of band together to speak out against this. I don't know how you band together to fight a law without breaking it. I'm not really sure what that entails. But I know that up until the point where this is enacted, we can speak out against it. And for now, that's all we can do. So that's sort of my piece on that.
I agree. I don't have anything to add to that. Yeah.
It's just very frustrating to me because this is something that like I have a huge passion for. And it's like, as we get further and further into it, there's more and more roadblocks all the time. You know? And it's just unnecessary. And
it's just becoming harder and harder to be a content creator, I guess. So.
Well, and I don't get why they would do that to this and not like television. Like, why is it okay for just scattershot ads to play directed at your children, but not personalized?
Yeah.
What's the difference, really? You're still selling something to a child.
And they're almost more appropriate ads, I would feel like, you know?
Yeah.
Than compared to like a Viagra commercial, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not necessarily that's playing on Disney or something,
No.
you know what I mean? But like...
Well, not
I don't know.
Not the unedgy Disney.
You're right.
Yeah, no, it's not, but yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's that stuff doesn't show up on, non-kids... It doesn't show up on kids' channels, but you are right. Like, what is the difference between... Your kid is sitting watching Showtime, watching Dexter, while you're in the other room, and your kid is watching YouTube, watching Ryan's Toys reviews, and he gets a personalized ad.
Right.
What's the real difference here? Just that it saw his browsing history? If you use the same computer as him, it saw yours too. Also, why is your kid on a computer?
Yeah, well, and
there's a lot of problems here, man.
I get the idea of it. It's not great. No one really wants their browsing history and personal data being looked at.
No. And I'm not saying it should be.
Right, but... I don't know. I get it. It's got a lot of holes, and I think it's got a lot of issues, and it's something that is going to get a lot of pushback, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think it should, and I honestly urge you to push back against this as well, because I think it's ridiculous. I think it's going to hurt not just the content creators. Like, even if you don't care about that, it's going to hurt you as someone who enjoys entertainment. So it hurts everybody. I don't think this is helping anyone the way it's worded now, even though it's with positive intentions.